Nora, what are you doing? Let's go. Nora turned and waved her hand. Go on, I'll be back later. One of the company spat. That's right, she's crazy, she doesn't drink vodka, and as soon as she sees a cemetery, she always gets lost. A woman walking next to the speaker laughed. So, royal blood, probably, not otherwise. Where did she come from? The man shrugged his shoulders. God knows, she appeared, and that's it, I don't remember when. We don't ask where she contributes. But from where and why, she doesn't tell us. Maybe she really is a princess. The company laughed at the top of their voices. The mood was good, spring was breaking out outside the window, which meant we wouldn't have to be cold anymore. Today they found a lot of tires and other junk. Aurora even found a decent jacket in the dumpster. That meant the evening wouldn't be languid, and a messenger had already been sent for hot drinks and snacks. Nora sat down on the bench and looked at herself. Tonight she had seen her husband, seen her Daniel. He had shrunk a lot, even aged, and there was no one around him. And, as Nora knew for a fact, no one had been around for all 5 years of her wandering. Now the woman was trying to figure out what she had done wrong, why her plan hadn't worked. During the day, she usually sat outside the store. They often hung around there, and people would give her sausage, bread, or even money when they saw them. Nora turned her head just as a familiar car pulled up in front of the store. Her legs immediately weakened, and she had to grab the wall, managing to pull off her handkerchief before Daniel swept past her. He didn't look happy. He must be, though, or else why would Nora sacrifice herself and her life? She'd miscalculated everything years ago, knew Daniel would be looking for her, and not in a rude way, and that was why she'd become homeless. She'd be impossible to find among people like that. And it wouldn't occur to anyone to look for her here. No, of course she wanted a divorce. She even talked to her husband about it, but he wouldn't hear of it, even yelled at her for the first time in his life. Nora, what are you talking about? Do you realize what you're saying? Thousands of couples can live without children, and so can we, if that's the case. But I can't live without you. Do you really think I'd break up with you just so someone I don't love could have a baby with me? So I'd never hear such nonsense again. She cried both from happiness that he loved her so much and from making the dearest person unhappy. And then she happened to watch a movie, or maybe she read a fairy tale. Either way, at some point a question had ripened in her mind. What could she do to make Daniel happy? And she answered herself, anything. She had been preparing for a long time, writing a long letter to her husband, assuring him that it wouldn't be long before he would forget her. He would be able to find a good, full-fledged woman who would surely bear him a son and many more. And that was it. It was very hard for her. So hard that Nora decided to say goodbye to this life, but she couldn't. Apparently, she was very weak. Sometimes she would go to her husband's office and know that he was suffering, that he had never found anyone. Then she decided that she would not torture herself anymore and stopped going to the office. Today's meeting had thrown her off balance. She was sure that her husband was bound to have met someone in such a long time, but apparently it was all for nothing. Nora sighed, looking at the monuments. She always felt calmer in the cemetery. She could sit and think, even dream a little. What would have happened if the doctors hadn't given her that diagnosis? Maybe she and Daniel would have had 2 children and lots of happiness. She was afraid to even dream because it made her very sad. Nora stood up. It was useless to sit there and try to make sense of it all. She had ruined her own life, and she wanted to do what was best for her husband. Now she would go where she had been for a long time. Maybe even have a glass of stinking vodka. Maybe she'll feel better. She even cringed at the realization of how stinky the liquid was that her fellow misfits were drinking. When they had feasts, Nora tried to escape and go to bed far away. But she had to go. It wasn't long before darkness fell. She liked the cemetery as a quiet place to think and not be disturbed, but not enough to stay here overnight. Nora moved toward the exit in the direction the tramps had gone, but stopped. They would be drinking all night tonight, and she didn't want to see that, so she turned and walked back the other way. There was an old gatehouse on the other side of the cemetery where tools were kept, but sometimes people like her slept there. As long as it wasn't busy. She was almost past the cemetery when she saw, or rather felt, that something was wrong. Nora looked around anxiously. Her gaze caught on something white, something incomprehensible, something that shouldn't be here. Something stood out from the general color scheme. What is it? Someone must have forgotten it. We'll have to look. Nora pulled herself together. She didn't consider herself a timid woman, but somehow her heart was at a complete loss. On the grave lay a white sack, large enough to hold anything. She was already envisioning tortured kittens, puppies, or something worse. The bag moved slightly, and a squeak came from it. Bastards! Were they throwing away live kittens? Nora pulled the handle of the package to the side and gasped. Inside was a baby, a real, live baby. He was whimpering softly. Judging by the redness of his face, he'd been crying for a long time. God, what had that thing done? She released the baby from the bag and took him in her arms. The baby seemed to calm down a little. There was nothing else in the bag, nothing at all. She turned around and headed for the exit with a quick step. We need to take the child to the police immediately. He's probably thirsty and hungry. It is clear that then he will be sent to an orphanage, but it's better than dying here. Already at the gate I literally ran into a gypsy woman. She was standing as if waiting for her. The gypsy was at least 100 years old. What's your hurry, beauty? Nora stepped back, although she had lived on this street for many years, but she had been afraid of gypsies since childhood. I found him. I'll take him to the police or to the orphanage. The gypsy looked into the bag. He's a good boy. He'll grow up to be a good boy. He'll have a good character, if they don't break him, which they might. Where to put him now, except in an orphanage? They break everyone there. The gypsy woman turned to leave, but Nora grabbed her by the sleeve. Wait a minute. Where am I supposed to put him? I can't leave him. I live like this. The gypsy woman answered without turning around. It's your own fault. Other people live like this out of desperation, and you, because you are a fool. And this boy, he will not be able in the orphanage, will not be able. The gypsy woman left again, and Nora remained standing, holding the child in her arms, but the old woman suddenly turned to her. I'll tell you one thing for sure, no one will look for him, no one at all. It's as if he didn't exist. And she walked away, now at a brisk pace. Nora stared after her, 1,000 thoughts running through her mind, one more absurd than the other. She was lost in time, she just didn't realize how long she had been thinking like that. She was brought to her senses by the baby's squeak. Nora peered into the little face. Hush, little one. A little patience, and soon everything will be all right. Nora took a quick step and then ran, cradling the baby carefully in her arms. The shelter and the police were in the other direction. Nora ran toward the cottages, toward the place where she had once lived. She squeezed the bell button so hard it felt like it was about to fail. Finally the intercom hissed, and Daniel's voice asked, "Who is it?" Nora exhaled. "Daniel, it's me, Nora. Help." The gate immediately slid open. Nora looked around quickly, but the darkness was silent. She slipped out into the yard and ran toward the house. Daniel jumped out of the house, rushed toward her, saw the baby and stopped. "Nora, where have you been?" Only then did he notice what she was wearing and raised his eyebrows in surprise. Nora looked him in the eye and said, "Please, please help me now, then I'll answer all the questions, tell you everything as it happened." Daniel nodded at the bundle. "Is this your baby?" "No, Daniel, not mine, not yet." "Come on in." They entered the house. Nora headed for the kitchen and breathed a sigh of relief. It had taken her a long time to get Daniel used to the fact that there was a carafe of clean, boiled water in the kitchen. Taking it, she found that the bottle and pacifier were gone. Confused, she looked at Daniel, who had gone out and returned with the bottle. That was it. "Emma had recently given birth, she visits me often." Emma was Daniel's sister and Nora's friend. She was the one who introduced them. The baby drank the water greedily. Okay, you can't have that much. We'll make you something to eat. Let me hold it." "How will you boil it?" They talked as if the years they'd spent without each other had never happened. Nora didn't know how all the things she'd learned so many years ago, when she still hoped to be a mom, came back to her. She boiled the porridge, bathed the baby. He was silent, only moving his eyes. After wrapping him up and feeding him, the baby fell asleep. She watched him smile in his sleep, and smiled herself. She heard Daniel coming toward her and turned around quickly. "Just a little more. Can I take a bath?" "I'd say, have to, I've already put your things away, they're waiting in the kitchen." Nora didn't want to get out of the water. She'd bathed 5 times already, at least, but she still felt like she stank. She saw her favorite terrycloth robe. Daniel had taken care of the underwear as well. He was sitting at the table. As soon as she entered, he pointed her to a chair and offered her a cup of coffee. "You can tell me about the baby later. I just want to ask one thing, why? You knew I loved you, that I couldn't be with anyone else." Nora lowered her head. "I hoped you could." "Selfish." She looked up in surprise. That was something she hadn't expected to hear, but it was inappropriate. "What are you looking at?" All I could think about was myself. I'm so good at sacrificing myself for Daniel. Except I forgot to ask Daniel if it was necessary. Only selfish people who only think of themselves do that. But I really, really wanted to. Daniel rubbed his face tiredly. "I'm listening to you now. Everything. Please, every minute of your life without me." When it started to get light, they sat by the window, hugging each other. "Tell me, why did you come here today?" "You know, I met a gypsy." "A gypsy? You were always afraid of them." "I'm afraid of them now." She said no one will look for this child, and no one even knows about him. I thought if there was anything left between us, he could be our son. "Daniel, don't say anything, I realize the absurdity of the situation, but think first. If you don't want this, at least help me make sure he's mine and no one knows I didn't give birth to him." Interesting. But how can we pull this off? Let's say I went abroad for medical treatment. I didn't tell you, but I told you where I was a year ago. You came, that's all. It's just that I had to be monitored there for the whole pregnancy. He pulled Nora away slightly. Oh, come on. You're supposed to be writing novels. It's been a year. Oh, Nora, you're a real piece of work. You have to hide like that. Hiding a guy like that from us. Emma looked fondly at Michael, Nora, and Daniel's son. Look at him, look at him. He wrinkles his nose just like Daniel. Nora smiled. It was absurd, of course, but at times she thought Michael looked a lot like his father. What are you guys doing, squeezing, slobbering over a guy. Come on, Michael, let's go to the men's room. Michael held out his hands to his father and said something in his own language. Emma and Nora laughed. Look at him, he's complaining about us. Daniel kissed his wife on the nose. We're the ones who should be complaining about you. All the guests are already here. Michael and I can't wait to open the presents. And you haven't fed us yet. Nora laughed. I'm coming. How can I bear to see my people hungry? Nora and Daniel's eyes met, and Emma realized that she was redundant at this point. Oh, I'll go to my guests. Before this place goes up in flames from your passion.